Good evening everybody, welcome to the studio this evening. And OBS is rather tardy in switching scenes. Starts to make me worried as to whether it's actually going to work or not. But good evening everybody. You can see rings on the desk. And that's because we're going to start this stream with finishing this bracelet, cuff, however you want to describe it. I am thinking that this actually wants to be, I don't know how long it is now, it's about 6¼ inches. I probably want about another ½ inch on it, and I am thinking that another ½ inch is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. So that's 2 pairs of rows. A row is 9, so I want 18 rings. And yep, that's. But having said that, I want to actually finish with 5 blue rings on the ends. And the reason for wanting to finish with 5 blue rings on the end, if I can find what I've done with it, is the clasp. There it is. I have a sterling silver clasp here, and that might actually not do what I want it to do. I was thinking that, yeah, that works. Yeah, it's a bit stiff. I was looking at this. What I'm trying to what I was trying to work out is how to actually fasten it, because I want to use this type of clasp, and I think I'm probably going to be better to bring that down to a smaller number of pink rings. So it'll be 1, bringing out 4 pink rings, and then we'll see. So let me bring this side down to 4 pink rings, and we can build out from this side here. Do I want to add in, and I'm not sure, but let me take 4 pink rings and my pliers, which are in here somewhere, and my fingering. These things always manage to get themselves tangled up. Fluffy Twiglet, good evening, welcome. And Captain Derby, also welcome to the studio this evening. You know, when I'm here trying to untangle these, and I'm thinking, how on earth do they manage to get tangled like this in the first place anyway? Especially when I find that I can't actually get the things to come up away from each other. There we go. I can't get the rings apart, and yet they manage to join themselves together. Totally baffles me. Right, I want 4 of these open, and then we will see. Now what I'm just going to try and decide is, do I want to put a blue, well, let's put a blue ring in for the minute, then I can always take them out again. Never having done one of these bracelets before, I don't quite know how I want to affix the clasp. I could use something like a lobster claw clasp, in which case all I'd do is just gradually make the rows shorter, and then till it gets to basically to a point, and then I could just put a lobster claw clasp on the end, but they can be really awkward to fasten. That's why I'm trying to use this this clasp if I can. Now then, I don't think I want to put a blue ring on the end of that. Oh, seriously, I'm off frame, aren't I? There we go. So, how are you two doing today? It's the weekend, of course. So, was it another busy weekend of doing nothing? Unfortunately, I'll have a busy weekend of actually doing lots. But it keeps things interesting. Now if I put this one on, I'm not going to put a purple ring on the end, that way it doesn't tend to flop around. I ideally want to end something like this, just because these last rings then hold these end ones in place. Now then, if I'm going to take that and place it there, one, two, okay, I can almost tie into the purple rings if they're going to be strong enough to support this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, probably didn't want those extra rings that I've put in. Okay, I can do that. Right. Okay, I know how I want to fasten that on, so what I'm going to do is actually fasten that on. So I want one, two, oh, I want a few open blue rings. We'll see, I think these should be okay in terms of how strong they are to do this. That's part of the experimentation, we shall find out. You're now Oh, Exilian, good evening. Welcome. Sorry, I wasn't looking up at chat. You're attempting to rough ink a dahlia. You do like flowers, don't you, Fluffy Twiglet? Nothing wrong with flowers, but I do sense a theme involved there. Well, I hope you get rid of your cold if indeed you do get one really quickly there, Captain Dobby. I'm not too bad. I have a little bit of an almost headache. Which is almost here and almost not. Most probably because I haven't been drinking a great deal today. That's of liquid, not alcohol. That does have a tendency to give me headaches if I don't drink enough. So I shall just finish off this drink that's beside me in just a moment. Just open these rings. And then we shall see if we can weave them onto here. Now then. I'm going to try and go through the pink rings. I may actually end up using slightly thicker rings, but we shall see. Now then, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 2 of these through each fastening place. That way they at least share the I'll call it stress of being able to support, holding the bracelet. They are strong enough to do it on their own, I think, just a single one. But there's 5, and then doubled will make it 10. So there's going to be plenty of load carrying capacity, shall we say? To get all technical. Now put another one through exactly the same space for this particular one. Well, I mean, botanical does give you one heck of a range of things to possibly do there, Fluffy Twiglet. That's for sure. There's some really weird looking plants as well that are out there in the world. Aldel H, good afternoon. Welcome to the studio this evening. Yeah, well, I'm sure they will, Fluffy Twiglet. Now that centre one I've just split across 2 pink rings, and that will kind of hold it centred a bit as well. Actually should produce a reasonably nice pattern. I possibly might put an extra couple in there just to keep what looks like a doubled look, but we shall see shortly. So I'm going to need some more. That ring open. We'll open it a little bit more on the 2. This is part of the fun part of doing this in a way, is you've got a clasp, and finding a way to actually mount the clasp that looks nice and performs its job and looks like it was designed to be done that way. And these last 2 on this last ring here. Yes, almost done with the dragon scale old H. I've got probably another 2 or, well, another 4 rows to make it long enough. But before I started adding rows, I thought I'd work out how to fasten the clasp. So that's kind of how I've added it. I am just looking at these. I don't have a cocktail stick around. I am just looking at these 2 centre ones, trying to decide if I want to put 2 rings on them, just because all the other rings all look doubled, but for the centre ones, even though there are 2 rings going through this centre metal, centre silver ring, it only looks like there's 1 on each side. Let me zoom that in a bit. Now you can see it's kind of like double double, and then it's kind of like two singles, double double. I'm just thinking I might put an extra ring on those just to make that look doubled. I think that's probably going to be a nice idea, so I will implement that idea. One of the things I find fascinating about any form of the creative art that I do and you're doing there, Fluffy Twiddler, is how you start with something and it kind of looks like something. It's like that leopard. When I started, it sort of kind of looked like a leopard, and as you add more to it, it kind of looks more like what it's meant to be, until in the end it sort of is what it's meant to be. Okay, that's one ring. Just being careful not to overlap it, so it sits alongside the existing ring, not doesn't go through it. It's getting a bit tight in there with that 4 rings through that 1 silver ring, but it's not too bad. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks better. Despite the fact there's actually 4 rings going through that centre silver ring, it doesn't. It looks better that they're both doubled up. Moet McCullum, thank you very much. I think you're asking, can I make you one? Yes, if you wish to pay for it, but let me just give you advanced information. This has taken about 10 hours to make, so they're not cheap, isn't a dragon scale. Now then, why is that pulling up like that and the other side isn't? What have I done incorrectly? That should be sat in there, I think. That's it. Yeah, well, sort of. Yeah. That's it. Just the placement of one of the blue rings was just slightly out of place. There's another one that's slightly out of place there as well. They shouldn't poke out like that. Now it's going to be a bit fiddly to cause that to go back into its right place. Let me just get a cocktail stick to help. That's it. In you go. There we go. Getting the ring settled in the right place makes a big difference to just how it feels. I think I may actually take off these 4 here, which are not really doing anything, and they just stick up. I'll just slide those 3 off. I haven't worked out pricing on this specific one at the moment yet, Moet Column, but the shop will give you an idea of what pricing is like. You're looking at if you look on the shop and you look at Special Lady, that one is, because of the crystals that are used, that one is at the upper range of the stuff on the shop. This one will be in the same sort of order, but I haven't actually worked out a price on this just yet. But if you are interested in this one, I can make one more in these colours, and only one. You can either use the shop, contact me on the shop, or you can drop me a message on Twitch here if you are interested. This is proving a little bit fiddly to get out. There we go. Whilst I don't like wasting resources, sometimes something like that is just as easy just to cut it and get it out. Now then, let me lift this one out. Because these are not being held in place by the next row, they're sort of sitting proud on the surface, standing up. It doesn't look quite as refined or as sleek. There we go. That's it's better. Right, now we'll add them onto the other side. So I'm going to add 3 rows to start with, and then we'll measure it. The reason for adding 3 rows is this has got 5 on it, and I want 4 as I did on this side, because it then holds these end ones from flapping around. So odd, even, odd row, if you like. So I want 4, 8, 9, no, 4, 8, 12, 13 rings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I think I said 13. So let's open these. I'll use my red pliers for this. I generally use either these or the parallel jaw pliers, doing things like this, just because this is kind of like holding things between chopsticks. Not quite, but it's quite a thin point on it, so you're holding one tiny point, whereas this sort of holds it across a larger sort of area. So when I twist it, I'm not kind of applying a force to a little tiny area, and it makes it less likely that it will twist in an unpredictable direction. It actually stresses the metal less as well. When you're working with these rings, work hardening is something that you have to be sort of aware of, just peripherally aware of, and that is if I bend them backwards and forwards too much, they snap, which is caused by literally the bend point. As you twist the metal, it gets harder, and it gets harder to the point where it won't stretch. It is no longer malleable, and when that happens, it breaks, which is why you can't do it open and close them indefinitely. Sort of 2 or 3 openings is about the maximum you can do. But the other thing is that and it's kind of an advantage disadvantage thing, because when you work harden it, it also stops when you first bend a ring like that, it kind of drifts back of its own accord. It's like a minor spring effect. It's like a memory, and when you close it, if you close it perfectly, you find if you go back afterwards sometimes it's moved slightly because of that memory effect. You have to tweak it again. If you work harden it, then it loses that springy effect. It holds where you put it, so there's a fine line sort of to balance. But I say fine line, it's quite a broad broad line in actual, it's not, two twists and that's it. It's sort of there's a sort of there is some leeway involved. want 13 of these as well. Six and a whole load. 5. Why did I say 6? I can't count, obviously. It's daft. I can count in binary, but I can't count in decimal. That's 6. 7. 8. 9. Sometimes you get to the point here where I just feel like yanking them apart, and of course that'll completely destroy the ring, so it's completely pointless to do that, but might make me feel good occasionally, but not for very long when I have to replace the rings. Right, I said 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 10. 11. 12. One thing with practice, I am now getting a lot better at closing these rings almost first time. It's that skill has developed, so I'm not spending ages tweaking it backwards and forwards as I was when I first started. D what? LDLH. Near then. Why does that look wrong? It looks wrong because I've started at this side, not that side. Okay. This is where I started from. This is the starting end. That's the ending end. And because I started from this end, I don't have the continuation rings that I need to continue. Which means I've got to weave some extra ones in. It shouldn't be too hard, but yeah. So whilst you can sort of work from either end on this, you've got to have these spare. You've got to put these rings in. If this was the start. she's a little bit fiddly. But not impossible. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now it needs 6 open rings. Oh dear, you're not having much luck, are you, with internet at times, LDLH? 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more. See, Murphy's Law, I could have picked either end to put the clasp on to start with, but I had to go and pick the end, the working end. It would have been easier on this end. Yeah, I shall take a look in a moment, Fluffy Twiglet. I'll just get these pretty small rings. That's gone through a ring I don't want it to go through. I haven't done that anywhere else, have I? No. That wants to be on this side, but not going through that ring. Okay, there we go. Are they petals or like they're curled into tubes on the top? Because that's kind of what it looks like. But that drawing looks good. Home sweet home. So that goes around these two. And one more ring, and then I can continue that ring. I've got one pink ring here on the end that just wants a little tweak. That memory effect that I mentioned, that little spring has just, since I set that, it's moved slightly. Now this last ring should just go through that one. Yeah, okay, on its own. Right, hopefully I got that right. So I am going to want a pink ring with a blue ring on the end of it. Let's go through there and there. Pick up another blue one. Okay. Spat Knifles PT. Interesting name. Thank you. Yeah, it's. I was about to say, is that how they're born, as sort of a tightly rolled tube, which then opens, I guess, as they come out from the centre. Well, you know, this. If it was easy to do, everybody would be doing it. That's what they say, isn't it? If you if you only do the easy things, you don't learn much. It looks, well, the drawing looks okay to me. It's got perspective in there. The shapes look correct to me. Right, more drink. Putting these blue rings on, but I've got a feeling I'll probably take them off when I put the clasp on, but we shall see. That's better. Hadn't closed that one properly, I could see through it. That ring I just put on wants closing again. Right, let's just measure this. Yeah, so this last set of rings will be enough. I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, one thing, Spac Knife Falls PT, get pliers with, if you're using pliers of course, as you will have done, ergonomic handles or large handles, because then ones like this with the small thin handles, yeah, I did that same thing myself, especially if they're really hard to hold. These are a heck of a lot better. These are aluminium rings, so they're a lot softer than galvanized iron or stainless steel, which often gets used. Silver though is quite expensive. You don't need to weld it or solder it, though. If they're closed properly, and this is sterling silver. If they're closed properly, there's nothing for them to catch on, which will open them, and there's enough rings in the weave to support quite a bit of stress. I've had this on for 3 weeks at least, without any problems at all. None of the rings are opening or anything on it. But these aluminium ones, somewhat the same. Yeah then. This is my last row. I'm actually going to take some of these off if I can find the end. Because these I'm taking off will be what the next but one row is fastened on with. I'm not putting a next but one row on this, so these rings don't strictly need to be here, and they'll just stick out from the weave. So if I take them out, and doing it now is easier than when I've put the next row on. Now where's that end gone? So. And I noticed a slight gap on that ring on the end, so we'll just tweak that one a little bit just to make sure it's closed properly. There we go. Yeah, sterling silver, well, a little bit more pricey now than spack knives. I don't. I buy them pre-cut. They're all saw cut rings. They're not machine cut or cut with flush cutters. They're all saw cut, and I buy them already cut. It saves me time, and yes, it's potentially it's part of the fun of making stuff is cutting your own rings, but in practice, I'd rather have the time to weave the rings than spend the time making them. And in terms of selling these things in the shops or to people, the time is what's the expensive bit, not the rings themselves. I mean, they do have a cost, and it is obviously more than if I made them myself, but okay, now we'll fit the clasp to it. I'm going to leave it embedded at the moment, or at least until I get the first until I get it joined, and I'll leave it fastened. As soon as I've got it joined, then I can take the clasp off, which will make it a bit easier, but this is just so I don't accidentally mount the clasp the wrong way around. Right, I can now split that apart, and we can fasten it in. That's 2. Now I want another 6 blue rings. I'm saying blue, these are purple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I want another 8. That's 2, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8. Let's open these. My understanding, especially well with any of the metal, is that it is best to work with a relatively soft metal to start with, sort of medium hard, I guess, because there is an element of work hardening when you coil them, and further work hardening when you actually close the rings. So if you start with half hard, then you're not going to overstress it or overwork harden it. Probably not necessarily starting with really soft wire, just because I don't think the work process will be enough to harden it, work harden it enough. But I've never actually worked with it with plain wire to be able to say for certain. So I suspect tempering the metal would make it too soft. Of course, it really depends on also depends on how much stress it's going to be under in whatever weave that you use. If you were doing something like a 1-in-1 chain, or even potentially a 2-in-1 chain, there's relatively speaking more stress in that than there would be in something like a half Persian, where there's a lot more rings supporting each other, and so a softer metal would be less likely to stress deform the rings. Of course, the trick would have been to try it out, try it both ways, and see what happens. Spackle knives. Two more rings to go. I'm assuming you were perhaps power winding your rings then to do that. He gets them done fast, but yes, you need to. Ideally, you need something else to tension your wire than your fingers. Okay, that's done. That's the other end. So what should be possible to do is to get that, close it around and put that in there. So, so there we go, one dragon scale cuff. All handwork, manual drill. Okay. I think I'd be inclined either to put something like leather gloves on, or to pass the wire through a wood block to put the tension on. So we are done. Now then, if you'll just excuse me a second, I will be back in a moment. Right, I am back. So we've finished with the rings for now. So I'm going to do something different. We'll just put the rings away and clear the desk. We shall put the bracelet to one side. We'll see how well it fits a little later. And as I mentioned earlier, if anybody else, I will be working a price out for that. If anybody else is interested, I have enough rings to do one more. It'll take all of those. And this colour isn't available anymore, at least unless the manufacturer decides to do it. I understand it was a one-off special order, and I can't get any more. Actually, I am interested to see how much it weighs, so I'm going to weigh it. £40 grams, that's quite heavy for aluminium. It actually weighs more than my, well, it certainly weighs more than my sterling silver, but it weighs more than the other one that I made as well. But not surprising, given it's got about 420, about 840 rings in it. So quite a few. Right. So we are going to try something different. And this is something that's new to me. So I've never done this before. So I have a kit of parts in here to make sure I got everything I needed. So I'm hoping this is the right bag, but we shall see in a moment. Yep, it is. Oops, let's go that. They've sealed it well, and it's in a nice pretty box. I'm going to try out some beadwork. I'll change my stream title in a moment as well. And I've got here another there we go, another similar fastening, only this one is silver plated, not sterling silver. So as Mrs. Aragonite gets to try out all these jewellery items, I will have to replace that clasp before she tries it on for very long, because silver plating doesn't last for her. Now then, okay, we'll try this on the desk. This is a type of bead weaving, or it's a sewing technique in some ways, which is called peyote or peyote. And it's going to produce a, on camera's back to front, but something that looks like that. That's if I do it right. And it's all done by threading the beads one at a time onto almost invisible nylon line, which is in there and I can't get hold of it. There we go. Camera sees it better than I do. So I need to start with about 6 feet of this. My ability to judge 6 feet is terrible, so it's about that doubled. And before I lose it, let me put this back over the end there, and then I can cut this off. This is going to be a relatively fun, well, it's going to be fun to do, but it's going to be fun because the next thing is going to be to thread this onto a needle. And it's tiny. Now these are beading needles. They're a lot more flexible than a normal sewing needle, and they're not particularly sharp. They're not blunt, but I wouldn't want to do that too much with a normal sewing needle. But hey, that wasn't bad. I was anticipating all sorts of problems trying to actually get that thread through that needle, and I didn't have any at all. Now then, what I've got with this is a pattern of beads. Each one of those things that you see is intended to be a single bead, and so with this, I mean, this is a geometric pattern, but you can do all sorts of patterning on these things. Christmas trees, Santas, aeroplanes. You can even write on it. So there's a lot of scope to do some quite interesting designs. Now this is one of those things where I could do with a bit of matting, but I don't have one, so I'm going to have to be a little bit careful. I'm not going to get too many beads out, just in case I send them sprawling, and also just in case we get a visit from one of the resident cats, because they won't care where they send the beads. I'm already sending them all over the place. Now these beads, which are totally out of focus, are small. There we go. If you can get sort of an idea from my finger. Well, this is a scalpel blade. They're little tiny beads. In fact, that's the bracelet. Might give you a bit more of an idea. I shall just get a few out because I can always get some more out afterwards. Right, let's start with just a single bead, which is going to get used to act as the end stop, so that as I put more on, it doesn't they don't all fall off the end. What I do is I don't go all the way to the end. There's about 8 or 9 inches here. I leave quite a long tail, and that way then I can use that tail later to actually fasten the clasp on, and also to actually tie off this end. So this is just what they call a stopper bead. And it's there just to stop the beads. Right, let me zoom the camera out a little. And so I start now with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5 purple beads. 1, 2. I'm sure I'll get the hang of picking these up. 3, 4, 5, and this is where it would also be easier if I have, in fact I've got some somewhere, a little bit of like velvet material, which will I can then sort of, they won't roll around quite so much. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6 blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one more is 6, and that is the first 2 rows of the bracelet. Now what we do is we start and come backwards, and now I'm missing some. What am I missing? I've done purple, green, white, purple again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more purple beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can see me potentially losing quite a few of these. Okay, that's my first row. So now first 2 rows. So now I start coming back the other way. Now these are done one at a time. Medi1801, thank you very much for following. That's most kind of you. Now then, as I come back, this is where I actually start to do what is the characteristic peyote stitch. And they look, if you're not familiar with it and you don't remember the drawing, it's a bit like brickwork, if you're familiar with how brickwork looks. I've got this a bit tangled. Like a lot of like the chainmaille weaving, the first couple of rows are a little bit awkward and potentially a lot awkward when I'm not watching what I'm doing. When you watch an expert do this, it always looks easier. Come on. I'm just trying to see that last bead where I want it, which is there, or thereabouts. Come along. There. Right. It will, I know it will get easier. Another purple bead. I'm guessing with a little bit of practice I can probably sort of do it a little bit easier. And I skip a bead and put that through the next one to create the stepped look. Get my finger out of the loop. God, this is tiny. I don't think I quite realised it was going to be this small, but I am working on that row, so my next one wants to be a white bead. Come on. Have I gone in the wrong? Yep, I have. Why did I do that? Have I gone in the wrong? No, I haven't. Yes, I have. Okay, let me take that back out then. Now this is either going to work or going to fail completely. Hey, it worked. Right. I want to go over and I want to go through the first white bead. Fiddly, isn't it? Through that. Skip. That one wants to sit alongside there, yeah. So I do that. Once I've got this third row in place, they're then all positioned in such a way that it becomes easier to then just keep adding on these. So I want that's the second white bead that I've just added. So it's the third white bead, and then we'll be switching to using a green one. At this point it is possible that watching paint dry might be slightly more fascinating. And then I pick up a green one. And the next one, which will then go through there, like that. That's two green ones. We then want a third green one, and then we'll be on to purple. I'm starting to get better the hang of this now as well, which of course is the idea of it. As you get used to doing it, it becomes slightly easier. Or it might be a bit easier on the eyes if I had a magnifying glass for this. I'm also guessing actually I should change my stream title, shouldn't I? For the last bit of the stream, so I shall do that in a moment. Get that tail out of the way. And 1, 2, yeah, 3 purple, and then I would finish with a white one. This bead is probably the most awkward one of the lot. There we go. Come to the other side of that tail, please. Thank you. Right. So, quite literally, that's the start. Now I've got to go back and basically I just keep doing that, building it up. It's like building up a brick at a time. Let me just change the stream title so that it's different to what it is now. Just so that anybody joining knows what it is. And now we go back the other way, and it's backwards and forwards, and we start with a white. Now, as I said, this gets easier now because the beads that are there are already sort of stepped out, ready to take, or ready to sit this next bead in the correct position. No, not so. That's white, so my next one is purple. I'm sure I'll get used to this sequence and won't need to keep referring to the colour chart, but and I can see part of the skill of this is going to be learning the right tension. So we got 1, 2, 3 purple, and then we're on to the green. Okay, that's 1. These are small enough sort of pixels almost to be able to do quite I guess quite impressive pictures in such a small space, which is one of the things that interests me about this form of jewellery making, is that I can actually draw pictures in the jewellery. And with a bit of luck, fairly quickly we'll actually start building this up, and it will it'll be a bit more visible as to the pattern. Make up your mind which way you're going to go. Thank you. And then purple to go through there. And then we loop around and come back through it and do it again. So I'm guessing that's going to start with a purple. And so that's 1, 2, 3, and then we go white next, yeah. This ring, this bead was wanting to sit crosswise instead of actually in line. Just took a bit of finagling to get it in place. One thing you have to be a bit careful of is that the thread doesn't get wrapped around other beads, and it does go along the path that you want, because if it gets wrapped around, it becomes visible, but B, it doesn't fasten up properly, basically, and the bracelet just sort of doesn't feel quite right in that particular position. So for me this is interesting, since I'm learning a brand new craft, which is I always find interesting. I don't know what it's like for you guys watching, whether or not you would prefer not to see me do this. Now why is that, yeah, the tail's got caught. Again. So are you happy to see more of this on stream? Thank you, LDLH. One, two. Yeah, it's going to be purple now. I wasn't sure whether I'd like doing this or not, despite the fact that I like detail and I like pixel work, which of course this kind of is. But I suppose and I might even be enjoying it a bit more if I didn't have a headache. That's not helping me at the moment. It's also kind of going faster than I sort of expected it would. I mean, I didn't realise that the beads were actually this small. Because if you watch videos of this being done, it's really hard to tell. These are apparently a size 11O seed bead. Quite what that means is I don't know, other than it means they're tiny. And already we've got quite a section going. I got a lot of spam bolts tonight. This is going to be white. suppose there must be people that are daft enough to actually click on links that spam bots put in into chat, otherwise they wouldn't do it, but kind of makes you wonder who's daft enough. Sorry, my thread got caught around something on the desk and it pulled it out of my hand. Thank you, old LH. Now that I am having tried this, and now that I know I don't have a problem doing it as such, other than like everything else just starting, what I'll be able to do is design my own patterns and things to do. So yeah, this was a kit to start with. Make sure I got everything I needed and had sufficient quantities and things. And then I knew if I had problems with it, it would be down to me, not because of the materials or anything. I can see one of the frustrations of this is being able to pick up the beads. Okay, well, I've got a small section done there, which I am pleased with, having never done this before. But what I'm going to do is, I may well do a little bit more of this off stream, but I'm going to actually stop the stream now because I have a migraine headache and it's actually starting to make me feel sick, and I don't really want to be concentrating on a stream and feeling sick at the same time. So I'm going to sort of relax a little bit, and partly is I'm warm, so that won't help, but I can't easily cool down on stream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say thank you to everybody that's watching. Anybody that is watching that doesn't know about the shop, there's the shop. That's images of stuff that is in the shop, and this sort of thing will be in the shop once I've done one or two. So more jewellery too that will appear in the shop as well. If you're interested, take a look, pass it on to everybody. Nice presents for Christmas or birthdays, that sort of thing. Anybody that's watching and isn't following, I'm also going to encourage you to do that. That way you'll get notified when I go live again. If you just like the notification, you can get that from Twitter. I do tweet when I go live, and that's about the only tweet that goes out, apart from odd things. So I don't turn up, not a prolific tweeter, so you're not going to get bombarded with spam from me. If on the other hand you just like to try and catch me tomorrow, I shall be live from about 8 PM UK time, 1900 hours GMT. Well, about 2 hours ago it was 8 o'clock, but tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. Sorry it's a little early, but hopefully my migraine won't last into tomorrow and I'll be okay tomorrow night. Thank you all, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.